Hi, my name is John Sheridan. I'm an artist and activist, and I live in Oakland, California. I'm creating this video today, August 1st, 2020, as we are seeing no letup, in fact a substantial and tremendous increase in confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the United States. This is the 7th video I am creating and posting to social media to raise our awareness of the absolute and immediate need for universal COVID-19 testing and tracing in the United States. Universal testing and tracing is an actual solution to the pandemic raging across the country. A pandemic that is radically altering and disrupting our lives, and which will no doubt soon affect every single person's life on this planet. Universal COVID-19 testing and tracing, as outlined by Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Romer, envisions testing everyone in the country every 2 weeks, with frontline workers, including teaching staff and our school kids, every day or so. We have an obligation, you and I and everyone, to understand as much as we can about this pandemic because it may mean the difference between life and death, if not for us, for those closest to us. To ignore it is to be an accomplice to hundreds of thousands of unnecessary deaths. There were over 70,000 new cases reported today, 1,462 deaths, and over 440,000 new cases the past week alone. The total number of deaths in the United States is now well over 155,000 people, and that is just the beginning. To help put this huge number of deaths into perspective for Americans, this is the equivalent of 50 9/11 attacks. Today is also the 21st day of a hunger strike that I began early on July 12th to protest our incomprehensible resistance to implementation of a national program of universal COVID-19 testing and tracing in the United States. I am bringing a focus to this issue that has not sunk into the American mind, but which could actually save us from the ravages of this pandemic if we would just do it. I have refused food for 21 days now, 3 weeks, and the discomfort and risk to my health will be worth it if that will help us understand and begin to take the crucial steps we must take as a nation, not to delay, but to actually stop this virus. And we can truly stop this virus largely in its tracks. We have the technology and the expertise. All it takes is some money and political will. We ought to be worried because even by wearing masks, social distancing, and locking down the economy, it's not enough, even with all of the tremendous personal sacrifices and tragic losses that people are undergoing to slow this virus. We can and must stop and extinguish it because we don't yet know enough about how destructive it is for us to personally risk getting it. Avoiding getting the virus should be a national priority. We have to make it one. As yet, there is no vaccine and no real treatment. Any drugs being used are being used mostly on the very, very sick as a last resort. Their real effectiveness is not yet known. Another virally transmitted disease, HIV, still has no vaccine nearly 40 years later. Let's not wait for something that may or may not come. We need to implement a program of universal testing and tracing now while we wait for any other technologies to come into play. The number of COVID tests has slowly increased to about 800,000 a day. That sounds like a lot, but we actually need 30 million tests a day to truly find all of us who test positive and isolate them at government expense for just 14 days. If we test positive, our close associates need also to be tested, and if positive, they would also get a 14-day government-paid vacation. In a little time, the virus would burn itself out. As well, even the tests being performed have a great lag in results being brought back. Not enough testing and late results are a lethal bottleneck. Test results that come back in a week or longer become less and less useful, and for effective social tracing, test results cannot be older than 48 hours. Otherwise, they are useless. To make things even worse, the House passed the HEROES bill in May. It's now the beginning of August, and the Senate has still not passed their version of the bill, but the Republicans are doing their best to gut the very modest amount of money for the unemployed from $600 to just $200 a week, even with 30 million people unemployed and rents coming due. And significantly, they have reduced the amount in the House bill for testing and tracing from $75 billion to just $25 billion. This is literally murder by strangling government efforts to address the pandemic. The recommendations from the White House want enormous sums given to the wealthiest in the country at the expense of the rest of us. If you want to know how much the wealthiest are giving, it's nothing compared to how much they are making off the pandemic. As well, $30 billion of the HEROES bill mysteriously has been allocated for Pentagon weapons. How the hell can fighter jets help us fight a virus? Without universal testing and tracing, the pandemic is killing hundreds to thousands of people every day, and we have to get it under control or risk perhaps as many as 800,000 or more deaths and a continuing contraction in an already criminally unequal economy. A word about my hunger strike. It feels strange not eating for 21 days, except for drinking some electrolytes and carrot juice. But as I say, sometimes you just have to do the right thing. Modern life makes us cowards. It makes us complacent. It makes us stop seeking, and it makes us stop thinking and feeling except about ourselves. Please visit my website at universalcovid19testing.com or locate me, John Sheridan, on Facebook or Twitter and see what we can do together to stop this pandemic. I know that we can beat this if enough of us demand action from our government and the media to force their hand, make it do the will of the people, and crush this virus. We need to use all of our tools and all of our wits, but we won't prevail anytime soon without demanding and getting universal testing and tracing.